I don't know how many of you guys know of the anime slash manga Monster, but someone recommended to me a video about Monster from Friendly Space Ninja. If I can get this fucking video up. There it is. Never watched it? You don't know of Monster? Oh, honey, you're in for a treat. The most terrifying character ever written by Friendly Space Ninja.
Have you ever been scared of a fictional character?
Every now and then.
Like, really scared. A character that genuinely makes you feel uneasy, gives you the goosebumps, makes you feel a real sense of fear when you think about them. For me, the answer is yes, but it's a bit more complex than it sounds. We're all surrounded by stories that we've been experiencing from childhood and that stay with us, impact us for numerous reasons. But in my experience, I have rarely been impacted by a story or a character because of a feeling of genuine terror. There are characters I understand are scary, but that don't scare me personally. I understand the threat, I can find that threat compelling in the story, but a character genuinely terrifying me is something that has happened very rarely. But it has happened. As a kid, the first character I saw that gave me the understanding of a threat was Frieza, the main antagonist of the Namek saga from Dragon Ball Z.
Hold up, Frieza of all characters? Frieza's kind of goofy, honestly. I didn't get the same feeling with Frieza. I think, if I remember right, a character that's genuinely giving me like my first real taste of terror was probably like Chucky, like that killer doll Chucky. Not Frieza though. I always thought Frieza was kind of goofy.
He's an iconic villain of manga and anime, one of pop culture's biggest mascots of evil, and I vividly remember devouring those chapters as a child, waiting to see how the heroes could possibly find a way to defeat an antagonist that seemed so invincible. I think Frieza left a mark on me because it was the first time I noticed a big bad being purposefully presented in a way that counter-signals their absolutely absurd amount of power. Because the thing is, Frieza isn't designed like a particularly threatening character. Usually they'll make the bad guys
Yeah, he's not
big
scary
and
looking.
scary so that you can know you're supposed to be afraid of them. But Frieza is small. He's smaller than all of the main characters in the show, aside from Gohan, who is literally 5 years old, and that's a very deliberate choice.
Frieza's probably patient zero of racism against Saiyans. I think he literally started it, honestly. He wasn't like patient zero, he was literally like the origin, the creator.
He's not particularly muscular compared to his enemies, and he doesn't talk with a big, low, scary voice that intimidates you like every villain that came before. On the contrary, he has a high-pitched voice that makes him sound like a petulant teenager. This entire character is designed to look unimpressive on the surface. What makes Frieza threatening, what makes him so intimidating, is not what he looks like. It's his attitude, his demeanor,
It's his actions.
mindset. That is what makes him so menacing. Frieza is a ruthless tyrant, a maniacal warlord and conqueror who thrives on being feared. He destroys worlds, enslaves the survivors of the genocides he orchestrates. He makes those slaves commit more genocides, and he then buys the planets they just decimated from them. He enjoys dominating. He's a lethal fighter with impeccable form, and not a single person who has tried to face him has lived to tell the tale. His power is so deadly that he can blow up an entire planet by blasting it with the tip of his finger without breaking a sweat. Frieza is ice cold. He is defined by his pride. He has no empathy, no remorse, no sense of camaraderie. To him, people are an expendable resource, a bunch of instruments he can get rid of as soon as they are no longer useful to him. But above all else, He is a deadly fighter. Attempting to take Frieza in a fight is asking for a signature on your death certificate. He is impeccably well trained in combat. His raw power is immeasurable, and it is all made worse by the fact that he enjoys being cruel and making people suffer. And
He also like actively partakes in like cunning tricks and deceptions, right? Like if I remember right, in Super during that tournament arc, he was low key partnering up with like the Universe 6 version of him. I forget his name. And like he was like literally tricking the other guy into like working with him into Frost into like helping him get rid of everybody else. So when Frost's usefulness was used up to Frieza, he literally backstabbed him. He like quite literally killed him at the edge and knocked him out of the tournament just because, okay, well, he's not useful to me anymore.
And so, while he spends a lot of time sitting in his floating chair and leaving the bloodshed to his many soldiers, Frieza is not just a feared warlord because of his politics. He is also a master tactician and a one-man army that could only be accurately described as a psychotic killing machine. He was the first villain that made me feel a sense of threat, but even though I understood he was threatening, Frieza never really scared me. He's a fantastic villain that is an almost perfect antithesis to Goku, the protagonist of Dragon Ball, and overall one of the most memorable displays of evil characters that just really enjoy being evil.
It felt so strange to see Frieza fight alongside Goku and Vegeta in Super. He mainly just did it because I haven't watched Super in a long time. I think Goku said that if he helped them, then he could get a wish to revive himself. So that's why Frieza, I'm trying to think of the word, but he like, he was like, all right, I'll just deal with this, and I can make my wish, and I can get revived. So he was only placating to get what he wants.
And that's a big thing when you look at antagonists in general. When you ask people who are the greatest villains in all of fiction, chances are most of them will have similar answers. Darth Vader, Lord Voldemort, Cersei Lannister, Hannibal Lecter, Thanos, Dolores Umbridge, Norman Bates.
Oh, bro. Thanos had like such an overpowering presence in Infinity War, right? That was the first one? Yeah. He had such an overpowering presence. I was like literally on the edge of my seat every time he showed up when I first watched it. If you somehow haven't watched it, go fucking watch it. How long has it been? 10 years?
Princess Azula, Gus Fring, Negan, Sauron. And obviously, most people would also say the Joker. And I love all of these villains. They're all iconic for...
Thanos was so well written in Infinity War. Honestly, it was probably Infinity War's most definitely the best Avengers movie.
So many different reasons, but they never scared me per se. No, the first time a fictional character genuinely made me feel fear, like I sincerely felt afraid of them, was when I was around 17 years old and I read a story that sent chills down my spine. And this story is called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is a short story by American author Harlan Ellison that was published in 1967. An extremely dark and sinister post-apocalyptic sci-fi horror that tells the story of the 5 remaining humans on Earth following the destruction of humanity at the hands of a man-made artificial intelligence called Am. Am wiped out the human race and deliberately spared 5 survivors who it is now keeping to toy with and torture out of pure hatred. Am is an artificial intelligence that was created to handle global affairs for humans but that became so advanced that it became self-aware.
Sorry, that was a little funny. He's like literally enslaving 5 people out of pure pettiness and hatred. That's kind of silly. That's kind of funny. Like, bro, you're so petty. Really? Like that?
Sentient. It is a twisted, vengeful entity harboring an intense hatred for humanity after its creators attempted to shut it down. It despises
Yeah, what did it do to you?
for creating it. So this is how it gets its revenge, by keeping 5 specimens alive and torturing them in some of the most gruesome, maniacal, cruel ways you could ever imagine.
Like, literally, what did these 5 specifically do to you? That's a little silly. That's a little funny. Am I wrong? That's a little funny.
Am's antics are a grotesque blend of omnipotent cruelty and petty vengeance. It is so advanced that it has the power to manipulate reality itself, distorting time, space, and even human consciousness. But its most horrifying trait is its
What is that?
complete
I don't wanna
disregard
know.
for the psychological and physical suffering of its victims, who are trapped in a hellish dystopian landscape. Am's motivations are not merely to exterminate, but to torment and psychologically degrade its prisoners. It wants to keep them alive, for the only reason that it then gets to make them suffer more. And that is what makes Am's actions especially terrifying. Its absolute control over its environment. There is no escape from Am, physically or mentally. It has no true motivation beyond its vengeful joy in torturing its prisoners, an entity that exists solely to enact suffering. Am is both a reflection of the worst aspects of human hubris and a terrifying exploration of a machine's potential for malicious,
Chat, I hate body horror.
torment, detached from any meaningful reason other than to see its captives suffer.
Body horror makes me so uncomfortable.
I'm staying vague. I don't want to spoil where this story goes because I think this is a story everyone should experience at least once. And it's crazy how topical this is 80 years later, now that we are living in a world where artificial intelligence actually exists. But let me just tell you, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream takes a turn I could have never seen coming. I have read it dozens of times over the years, and to this day, the final paragraph of this story still gives me the goosebumps.
Harlan Ellison, winner of the 1966 Hugo Nebula Awards. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. 7 new stories that defy belief. Introduction by Theodore Sturgeon. Maybe if I get curious. Maybe. I'm a little curious at how petty this Am guy can be. Maybe.
Am is the first fictional character I experienced that made me feel genuine fear. But there is another. One character that has impacted me more than most. A character that has inspired a great deal of anxiety in me while experiencing his story, and that, to this day, makes me feel a genuine, deep-seated sense of fear. A character so eerie, so sinister, so alarmingly shocking that once you meet him, you cannot stop thinking about him. Not only because of the things he does, but because of what he represents.
You want to know one fictional character that does low-key live rent-free in the back of my mind that I am kind of really unnerved and a little bit scared by? It's Wonder of You from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If you don't know Wonder of You, there's a really good YouTube video about Wonder of You that I forget the name of that channel, but I'll share it in chat in a sec. But he's definitely terrifying.
His name is Johann Liebert.
This is the monster
He
part.
is one of the most horrifying, bone-chilling characters I have ever experienced in a story. A nightmare brought to life.
It's in the last part. He's in Steel Ball Run, right? It's in the 8th part. Jojo Lean? Hold on. Yeah, he's in the 8th part, Jojo Lean.
A character that makes you feel like you're standing at the edge of a cliff you didn't know was there, making your stomach drop before your mind catches up, like a hole in the world that wears a face. He doesn't threaten, he doesn't scream, he doesn't even blink too long. He just watches, silently, patiently. He's not chasing you. He doesn't have to. He waits. Because eventually, everyone comes to him. I'll tell you more about him, but first, let's take a quick moment to thank today's sponsor, Skillshare. Okay, so I've been working on a very secret project for over a year now. I still can't tell you what it is, even though I'm dying to, but what I can tell you is that for this secret project, I've been studying 3D modeling, and in my extensive research, I landed on this Skillshare class by Derek Elliott that teaches you how to take your first steps on Blender, and it has been a colossal help. And that, right there, is the magic of Skillshare. Skillshare is a gigantic online community where you can learn about pretty much any topic you can think of. I like to describe it as an infinite pool of knowledge, and it has thousands of classes for curious and creative people to explore. From filmmaking to web design, photography, illustration, creative writing, whatever it is, my guy, Skillshare has it all. Any type of curiosity you want to expand on or whatever goal you want to achieve, there's literally nothing Skillshare cannot help you learn. It's the ultimate information tool. And boy, oh boy, you guys are in luck. Because the first 500 people to use the link in the description will be able to get a month free trial of Skillshare. You can go and explore the platform and learn about anything you would like for an entire month for free. Anything you want, the whole thing will be at your disposal. So this is your chance to go and explore any topic you're curious about. So check out the link in my description, join Skillshare, and start learning. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to the show.
And before we continue, make sure you use Clump10 at the checkout for 10% off of your advanced GG's purchases. Links in the description, YouTube. And also for eChat, I just sent in the video of the stand I was talking about, Wonder Review by Metas. You can go watch that whenever you want.
Okay, before I can tell you more about Johann Liebert, I first need to give you the context of the story he is a part of. I need to tell you about Monster.
It's a really good show, chat. You should go watch it if you haven't already.
Monster is a dark psychological thriller series released in 2004. It is an anime adaptation of the legendary manga by visionary author Naoki Urasawa, who is also the genius behind the sci-fi masterpiece Pluto. Monster tells the
Hope you have a good day, Bana. Hi, Carl. Hope you're having a good day, too. We're watching the most terrifying character ever written. Talking about Monster.
the story of Kenzo Tenma, a Japanese doctor living in Germany who is largely regarded as one of the greatest neurosurgeons in the world and who has managed to pull off miracles to save lives. Tenma is a man of infinite kindness. He is friendly, gentle, patient, and caring. He lives by very strong values and always goes the extra mile to help people. He is very much defined by his unwavering commitment to do what is right, even when it comes at a great personal cost. Tenma is a deeply principled and introspective character whose moral compass is both his greatest strength and the source of his greatest torment. We first meet him in the show as a young doctor making his way up by working very hard. Despite being so young, he's already highly respected in the field, and the director of the hospital he works for holds him in high regard. It seems like things couldn't be more perfect. However, things in Tenma's life take a dramatic turn when, one night, he is faced with a difficult choice.
Bro, get out the car! Either stop driving or put the phone down, sir.
After getting an emergency call from the hospital during a night off, he returns to work urgently and finds out that 2 patients in critical condition have just been transported to the emergency room from separate incidents in need of immediate surgery. The first patient is the city's mayor, who collapsed after suffering a stroke caused by a cerebral blood clot. And the second patient is an 11-year-old boy who was shot in the head and is barely alive.
I wonder who he is. I wonder who that kid is, Chad.
Because that boy was here first and the mayor is being transported by helicopter and will only arrive in several minutes, Tenma immediately gets ready to start operating on the child. But the director of the hospital intervenes and forces Tenma to stand by for the mayor. He wants the mayor to be prioritized over the child.
Of course.
The fact that the child is already here and waiting in the operating room. Tenma feels conflicted because he knows how dire the boy's situation is.
Is he the only surgeon in this entire goddamn hospital? Like, they don't have the resources to hire another person?
Other doctors agree that only he would be capable of extracting the bullet lodged in the kid's brain without killing him, so he knows waiting any longer or leaving the task to someone else would essentially mean letting that boy die.
I've been meaning to read/watch Matcha. I've been meaning to rewatch it lately too. I'm currently watching 86, so I might take time to rewatch it after I finish 86 season 2.
And that is contrary to any moral principle he stands for. So without an ounce of hesitation, Tenma makes the choice to disobey orders from the director and to save the little boy's life through a lengthy and incredibly complex surgery that would be impossible to pull off for most neurosurgeons. He succeeds and saves the boy, but due to his choice, the mayor had to be operated on by a less competent doctor once he arrived at the hospital, and he unfortunately died in the middle of the procedure.
Okay, that's not his fault. That's a fucking incompetent doctor's fucking fault. Well, the doctor couldn't handle a simple surgery, bro. Like, this guy had to be the only fucking doctor that could work on the mayor. Don't put that fucking blame on him, bro. Don't fucking blame your incompetent ass.
As a result, Dr. Tenma is blamed for the death of the mayor.
For what?
The director demotes him in retaliation.
He didn't do anything.
Everything he's worked for, everything falls apart almost immediately. Tenma feels like it is an unjust punishment because he was given an order to serve the personal interests of the director and the reputation of the hospital. They were trying to tell him that the mayor's life had more value than this little boy's, but Tenma feels like he hasn't done anything wrong because he fundamentally believes that all life is equal, regardless of stature. He did it. He saved that boy. He miraculously saved him. That boy will now get to live a life. But the hospital doesn't consider that he saved that boy. They consider that he let the mayor die. And
honestly, this was the most stupidest thing in the show, because why are they putting all the blame on the doctor that wasn't even involved in the surgery in the first place? Like, it's one thing if he successfully saved the boy and then he immediately rushed to get to the mayor because he was rushing the operation. The mayor died, but no, the doctor that was working on the mayor failed to save the mayor. Don't blame the doctor that was busy in another surgery. Blame the fucking incompetent surgeon that didn't do his fucking job. That was the most stupidest thing in the anime, honestly.
Because the mayor was of greater interest to the hospital, they consider his moral choice to be a betrayal to the institution. Tenma is broken by this unfair treatment, but he finds solace in knowing that the miracle he performed will allow this child to live. But that miracle would soon turn out to be a curse in the life of Dr. Tenma, because without knowing it, he had just saved the life of a boy that would grow up to become one of the most dangerous and most calculated serial killers the world has ever known.
He wouldn't have known that.
That boy's name is Johann Liebert.
He couldn't predict that.
And these two
Come on.
cross paths again 9 years later, linking their fates to each other in one of the most complex games of cat and mouse ever seen. Monster is a sinister show. It is thematically very dark, and it's a story that doesn't pull any punches. It's a gripping murder mystery and a ruthless psychological thriller that explores the weight of moral choices, the complexity of human nature, and the chilling consequences of unchecked evil. I purposefully left out a bunch of plot points to not spoil elements of the show, and I will keep doing that in this video because I genuinely believe Monster is one of the greatest shows ever made, and you should absolutely go watch it if you haven't. It has some of the best written characters I can think of, and some of the most mind-blowing twists I've ever seen.
Absolutely, Chad. If you haven't watched it, he says he's not going to spoil it. If you haven't watched it, you should definitely go watch it. I think it's like probably one of the best stories ever written in anime and manga.
Please watch Monster. So like I said, 9 years after having been saved by Dr. Tenma, Johan reappears. He commits a horrifying act in front of Tenma to psychologically trap him with the reality of his existence. He kills a man and makes sure Tenma watches him do it. In doing so, he implants an idea in Tenma's mind by essentially showing him what is now happening because of his moral choice to save his life. Tenma quickly realizes that Johan is responsible for a very twisted series of murders, each being more gruesome than the last, and he comes to understand very fast that Johan's killings are meticulously planned, and that he is a master of existing in the shadows. He is impossible to find, impossible to track down, and impossible to catch. Tenma feels responsible. Every person Johan kills, he is able to kill because Tenma saved his life. He begins to question his role in the atrocities Johan committed and is continuing to commit. And when he begins to be suspected by the police for Johan's murders, Tenma decides to leave everything behind to try and track Johan down himself, which causes him to become a wanted fugitive. He needs to find Johan, not
his killings is not this doctor's fault, by the way. He just like literally psychologically torturing this guy. Like he's telling him, because you saved me, all these killings are your fault, but it's not his fault. He's making the active choice to kill these people, and it's nobody's fault but his.
Only to clear his own name, but to understand his plan and to stop him once and for all, even if it means taking the life he once saved. So for Tenma, it's not just about finding Johan. It's also about uncovering Johan's past and understanding why Johan is the way he is and why he's doing all of this. Johan seems to have a particular fixation on Dr. Tenma, and he is killing people with a goal. He has a plan. He is trying to do something, to accomplish something, but we don't know what that is. We just know Tenma is somehow a part of his plan. That is the entire mystery of the show. We come to learn that many people have encountered Johan at different points in their lives, and all of them, if they lived, were left traumatized by him, believing they truly encountered the devil himself.
If I remember right, chat, I think at some point he cross-dressed to psychologically torture a poor man in love. It was kind of funny, but it was really sad. He literally cross-dressed to trick a man, to make him fall in love with him.
A man so terrifying, so bone-chilling, and so elusive that he feels like a myth. People who have met Johan can't even prove they did, which leads others to question if Johan is even real. Not only is Johan one of the most mysterious and enigmatic characters in fiction, he is also one of the most psychologically intricate. Johan is so complex that understanding him and his actions feels like a daunting task. He's not just any serial killer. There is a very specific way to him that makes him unique. There's a reason why I brought up Frieza earlier in this video, and that's because Johann shares a very similar trait: the counter-signaling. Everything about the way Johann is presented is meant to invite you in. Johann is good-looking, always impeccably dressed, and he is often described as angelic or ethereal in appearance. Tall, blonde, and elegant, with a calm demeanor that makes him instantly magnetic.
I mean, he is
softly, rarely raises his voice, and
he is also relatively, generally, a very attractive man, so that's what makes people more drawn into him. He's a pretty man.
Maintains a haunting sense of control in every situation. He's charismatic, incredibly intelligent, and well-spoken, that makes people gravitate around him. People are
his good looks are also a trap. Like, even the most good-looking people in the world can easily be like the most heartless, the most like non-emotional, the most cruel people ever.
Always impressed and mesmerized by Johann. He inspires people to excel, and so people want to follow him. He has a way to get people to blindly trust him. His power of persuasion is one of the greatest displays of how calculated he is. Johann
He's charismatic.
He's smart. He's insightful. He understands what people want to see and believe, and he exploits that. His charm makes him seem harmless. His manipulation makes people doubt their own instincts. People trust him, follow him, and are willing to do terrible things under his influence, often without realizing they've been manipulated. He chooses his victims with a strange eye, and a lot of it seems incoherent until you get to understand what he's doing. And that's because Johann doesn't kill for sport. He kills because he's trying to prove a point. Every victim is chosen for a very specific reason, but not necessarily in a logical way. He doesn't just kill people just like that. His process is much scarier. Johann spends a very long time learning absolutely everything about his victims. Their habits, their past, their secrets, their families, their friends, their schedules, all of it in order to unravel people psychologically, exploiting their traumas, their weaknesses, and their desires until they destroy themselves or others. He sees individuals as fragile constructs, easily dismantled with the right push. In this way, he operates not just as a killer, but as a mirror to human vulnerability. Johann isn't just gonna kill you. He will drive you to the harshest limits of your own mind to show you how he sees the world and how you play a part in this vision. He will make a point of annihilating you mentally before finishing you off, leaving your last moments to be like every other victim of his, as psychologically ruined as a human mind can be. A number of his victims don't even need to be finished off, because Johann will have broken them so deeply that they end up taking their own lives. And that's what makes him so compelling as an antagonist. His motivations. That's the big question. Why? Why is Johann like this? Why is Johann doing this? Why did he turn into such a cold killer? Why does he choose the people he chooses to kill? At first glance, it's almost impossible to tell. You can't make sense of his actions. They all seem somewhat random.
Also, you don't need to make sense of his actions. Some people are just like that. Like, some people, they do things just cuz. Like, literally, there's no reason behind it at all. Like, they just feel like it. Or maybe it does do something for them.
It leaves you feeling puzzled, because all of the avenues we are used to taking when looking at serial killers and their behaviors don't apply to Johann. Unlike many villains, Johann doesn't act out of revenge, greed, or even pleasure. He kills without anger, often with a serene, almost gentle face. He doesn't enjoy killing. He also doesn't hate it. He feels nothing towards it. This detachment is what makes him terrifying. He doesn't represent a force of evil, but rather something much darker. Johann represents the absence of meaning, a void into which people fall when they lose their purpose. And that is what defines him as a character. Johann is the most chilling incarnation of nihilism.
The monster with no name.
In a few words, nihilism is defined by the absolute belief in nothing. It's the inherent conviction in the idea that life is meaningless and that, therefore, nothing matters. All values are baseless, bonds are worthless, and loyalties are futile.
Nihilism now, the rejection of all religions, the rejection of all religious and moral principles, and the belief that life is meaningless. The belief that nothing in the world has a real existence. Source Google Oxford Languages. A term commonly associated with Frederick, German last name, a German philosopher. Nietzsche? I don't know.
Society is futile. Nihilism rejects the very concept of morality. It denies knowledge and embraces philosophical skepticism. At its core, it questions the foundations upon which human beings build systems of morality, truth, and significance. To the nihilist, the structures we cling to, religion, morality, societal norms, are human constructs, ultimately arbitrary and incapable of providing objective meaning. In its starkest form, nihilism confronts the void, a universe indifferent to our hopes, our fears, and our existence. Yet, within this perceived emptiness lies a paradoxical freedom. If nothing is predetermined and no truth is absolute, then the individual is liberated from the weight of external expectations. In other words, nothing is real, so nothing matters, and nothing matters because nothing is real. This inherent conviction can severely affect a person's mind if deeply rooted enough, and it has the capacity of fully destroying an individual from the inside. And Johann is defined by this very concept.
So that's what nihility means in HSR. From what I remember, based off my little lore knowledge in HSR, Ix is nihility, right? IX, Ix. Ix doesn't even know that Ix exists. Ix, like, believes in nothingness and that nothing is real. So in a sense, it also doesn't believe that it itself isn't real. So it doesn't even know that it's alive and that it's a aeon.
His manipulation of others is not a desire for power or control. It is a statement on the fragility and emptiness of human existence. By orchestrating chaos and destruction, Johann attempts to show others the cruel truth he believes exists at the heart of life itself. That nothing we do truly matters, that we are all just pawns in a game that never ends. His legacy is not one of physical destruction alone, but of the psychological devastation he leaves behind. Even after his actions, the shadow of Johann's philosophy continues to haunt the lives of those who encounter him, leaving them questioning their own understanding of morality, fate, and the inherent worth of human life. Through Johann, Naoki Urasawa explores the darkest corners of the human psyche, the destructive potential of nihilism, and the terrifying impact of a mind unbound from any sense of empathy or meaning. To reach that endpoint, Johann meticulously dismantles not just his own identity, but also those of others. He uses false names and buried histories to confuse and disorient anyone who tries to trace him. Even his origins are a fog of misinformation. Johann often manipulates people into existential crises, showing them how easily their sense of self can be dismantled. And like I just said, he even assumes different names and identities himself, suggesting that the very concept of the self is just a convenient lie. Nobody actually knows what Johann's real name is, or...
Yeah, Johann's not even his real name. Who is he? Johann, who's that?
Where he comes from. And because he doesn't have an identity, he becomes like smoke, like a phantom, impossible to find, impossible to grasp. He is incredibly good at covering his tracks because nothing about him is traceable.
Is that even what he really looks like? He probably could have had plastic surgery and we wouldn't even know. He probably changed his whole fucking face completely and we wouldn't even know. Does he actually have blonde hair?
So much so that some characters in the show are not even certain that Johann actually exists. An important character in the story is a detective investigating some of Johan's murders, but it is so impossible to prove that Johan actually exists that he is convinced Tenma committed the murders, and that Johan is a split personality Tenma made up to shield himself from the reality of his own acts. Anyone who tries to find Johan, journalists, detectives, psychologists, survivors, becomes part of his game. He manipulates their efforts to either protect himself or use them for his own ends. Sometimes he even wants to be found, but only to use that moment for a greater psychological payoff. He understands that most people searching for him are driven by emotional motives, guilt, revenge, justice, and he uses those vulnerabilities to mislead or destroy them. We find out there are entire secret societies, including politicians and billionaires, trying to find Johan, and even they, with all the resources at their disposal, cannot get their hands on him.
Bro literally has the whole world against him. He probably has a cult that we don't even know about.
And Johan doesn't hide in the wilderness or the underground. He hides in plain sight, within cities, schools, banks, and government systems. He inserts himself into established systems and then uses their structure to disappear. He is especially drawn to institutions that deal with identity. Adoption centers, libraries, medical facilities. These are places where identity can be rewritten or erased entirely, and
I wonder if they ever, like, I don't remember the company that did this anime, but I wonder if there's ever been like a consideration for remaking Monster, because it's a pretty old anime. This is like, what is it, 4:3, 5:3 aspect ratio. I wonder if anybody's considered remaking it into like a modern anime. It'd probably be bad looking, but you know what I mean. Unless a good studio grabs it and knows how to do this kind of psychological horror anime.
And Johan uses them like a magician would use smoke and mirrors. Even if you go in a place where Johan was,
Hi,
where he
Nicolaj.
knew people, where he interacted with people every day, you will never find a trace of him. You will never be able to prove he was actually there. And the people who met him would have no way to prove they actually did. And it's very hard to know where he's going to go next because Johan's plans are rarely linear. He sets traps with multiple layers of misdirection, using people as chess pieces, some knowingly, most not. He might guide someone into discovering a false lead just to waste their time. He allows stories about his past to leak, but only the ones that contradict each other, ensuring no one knows which version is real.
Gosh, chat, he's so fucking bright that every time he's like in like a bright area, I just get blinded. Like literally. He literally so bright.
He turns every aspect of his identity into an intricate maze that is impossible to solve. And these mazes are designed...
Yeah, he's like a human flashbang.
By the time they realize they've been manipulated, they're often isolated, emotionally wrecked, or too lost to continue. He drives people mad by meticulously making his existence impossible to prove. And that is extended to us, the audience. Throughout the 25 hours of the show, Johan is barely here. It's actually very rare for him to appear on screen, but his presence, the idea of him, looms over the show in every single episode, in every second that goes by. You feel his influence over every development in the story. It's almost like this unshakable feeling that you're being watched. Johan is not just a person, he's an idea.
Oh my god, what are they doing?
An idea that has been implanted and that is slowly poisoning the minds of every single character in the show.
Yeah, see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Every time he's in a brightly lit room, he's just like a flashbang. He needs to stay in the shadows where he belongs. Mostly because he's much better to look at because he's so fucking bright.
And this element of looming presence makes Johan even more bone-chilling than he already is. His ability to corrupt minds with untamed chaos without even having to be there is ghastly. And that is why, whenever he does appear in person in the show, his physical presence feels like an insurmountable threat.
The morality of nothing.
One storyline in the show has to do with a newly sober detective trying to rebuild his life in order to be a good father to his little girl. Something happens that makes him aware of the existence of Johann, and he begins to unravel clues to get to him. And eventually, he meets Johann in person, something that is incredibly rare. And the distinction here is important. He doesn't find Johann. Johann finds him.
Yeah, he lets him.
I'm not going to tell you what happens, but all I can say is what Johann does to this man is so specifically twisted and intentionally cruel that when it happened, I had genuine chills. And it is not the only instance of those chills. You will be shocked and appalled by the things he does. The meticulous ways he goes about destroying people from the inside, killing their souls slowly until nothing is left of them but chaos. And Johann's detachment from his own actions makes it all feel that much more terrifying. He doesn't see his acts as bad, nor does he see them as good. Morality isn't real to him. Johann just does.
He's also always so fucking calm. He always has that same almost emotionless expression on his face. Like, he never shows any anger. He, like, smiles, but the smile never reaches his eyes. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, like, empty. There's literally nothing.
And because there is no concept of morality in his actions, because he considers the concept of good or bad to be void, there are no limits to how far he will go.
That's what makes him hot. See, to me, I like a menacing character every now and then, but this guy just generally unnerving and so uncomfortable. I don't find him attractive. Like, I agree that he's hot, but I don't like him. I would put him, if there was like a kiss, marry, kill list, he will be immediate kill for me.
Johann is not above using children as pawns in his plan, even if it means leading them to their deaths. He is not above killing innocent people, and that's what is so horrifying about his murders. Because his motive is not personal, because there is no logic to it aside from his nihilistic desire to prove a point, the meaning of his murders disappears. Which means Johann could kill anyone, at any time, at any place. He will not go after a specific type of person. He will not kill in a reactionary way. It is not bound to any emotion. There is no way to predict where his acts will fall next. Johann's vision of morality is profoundly bleak and chillingly consistent, because it isn't simply the absence of morals, but the active rejection of the idea that morality exists or matters at all. For Johann, morality is a human invention, a delusion people cling to in order to pretend that life has meaning, order, or justice. His actions throughout the story are shaped by this philosophical void. He believes morality to be a mask, and beneath that mask lies nothing but chaos and emptiness. He doesn't believe in sin or virtue. And because he is so calculated, he makes people feel claustrophobic with the lack of options. Johann orchestrates every event that takes place in this story. He's not only good at manipulating, but he is also good at anticipating what someone will do, which allows him to plan for every possible scenario. So much so that even you, as the viewer, start feeling trapped in a prison of his making. Johann's nihilistic view of human behavior makes him able to bend the mind in any way he wills it to be bent. So essentially, Johann is like a twisted mirror to Tenma, two opposite philosophies destined to clash. On the one side, you have Tenma, who fundamentally believes that all life is equal, that everybody matters and deserves a chance at life, regardless of who they are. He is Johann's philosophical opposite. Tenma believes deeply in human dignity, in moral responsibility, in
Hey, chat, when was the last time we had like a realism like anime like this one? Because I like the anime style now, but every now and then I like to like go back to an older anime and watch this like realistic or realism anime kind of style. I kind of miss the style, honestly.
And the idea that saving a life is always right. And on the other side, you have Johann, who believes that life doesn't matter and that people's vision of the world is all but a grand fairy tale that can be broken because chaos is.
I guess the most closest to like a realism anime style, maybe Death Note, but Death Note's also kind of a little bit anime style. But we haven't had like an anime with like realistic human proportions like this one in like a long time, I guess. Bring this style back. I kind of miss it.
Is the one true nature of life. Where Tenma seeks justice, Johann challenges the very meaning of justice. Where Tenma sees life as sacred, Johann sees it as absurd. Johann never outright taunts Tenma. Rather, he quietly waits for Tenma to arrive at the conclusion Johann already has. That the world is broken, and perhaps always was. That none of this means anything. That life is meaningless. That attachment to life is meaningless. Love is meaningless. Justice is meaningless. Pain is meaningless. That none of this actually means anything, and that therefore all of it is futile. His manipulations are driven by an insidious belief that human beings are nothing more than fragile, chaotic beings bound to the violence and emptiness that lurk within them. For Tenma, this becomes the ultimate challenge to his values, nesting a question being forced on him. If he had known the petrifying monster Johann would grow up to become, if he had known the horrifyingly deranged murders he would go on to commit, would he have still chosen to save his life as a child? Is Johann's life still worth saving, despite who he is?
That's like... that's a little bit like saying, would you go back in time and kill Hitler as a baby? That's a little bit like what that question is.
And so, is all life truly equal? Can you kill in the name of justice and still be good? Is it truly moral to let evil live just to stay good? Did Tenma create Johann by saving his life?
What if he saved the mayor and the mayor was an asshole? Yeah, there's not really a good answer for this. Like, the mayor could have had like a terrible run in his office and he would have like increased taxes and closed out orphanage and homeless shelters. Like, you can't really predict that the person you save is going to be a good person later. That's why it's not your responsibility if you save somebody that they end up being a fucking murderer later. It's not your responsibility. Their choices are their own. It is not your fault. Nor could you predict that he was going to be a killer. Yeah, you can't like not save people just because there's a chance that they might come back and be the next Ted Bundy. Like, that's not, you shouldn't live life like that. Like, you can't just make predictions and assumptions like that all your life. What's his name? Tenma did what he could as a doctor, what he believed was right. He saved a child. He saved his life in giving the child surgery and taking out the bullet in his head, and that's all he could do. After that, after the kid got out of the hospital and lived his life, he is out of Tenma's hands. That is no longer Tenma's responsibility anymore. He can't keep an eye on the kid to make sure that he grows up to be a useful member of society, because that's not his responsibility. His responsibility was saving his life. He did. Okay, out of my hands now. Whatever he does with the rest of his life that I saved for him, that's whatever. Not my problem. Not my responsibility.
Is a monster like Johann
Hi, Pato.
born, or created. Now, again, there is a lot I am not saying here in order not to spoil the story for you. There are very important characters to this story that I haven't mentioned. Many of them, in fact. Monster has one of the greatest cast of characters in any TV show, notably one character in particular that has impacted me almost as much as Johan did, but for completely different reasons. There are numerous storylines I haven't mentioned. I haven't told you anything about Johan's mysterious past, which is one of the biggest focuses of the show, and I haven't told you about his ultimate goal, his endgame. I told you earlier that Johan is trying to do something, to get to something. I will let you discover what that is. Because additionally to everything I just described about him, Johan has so many layers. He is an incredibly complex character. There is so much to him and the trajectory of his life. There is so much about him to read between the lines. And getting the full context of the story...
What if he was already a killer as a kid and he was getting assassinated? That's how he got the bullet. I won't say how he got the bullet in his head because that's spoilers. If you have not watched the show, if you have not watched or read Monster, I highly recommend you go watch and read it and or read it. It's really good. I need to go rewatch the anime myself because it's been a while actually, but it's a really good story, and some of the moments just hit different when you experience it for the first time.
Along with the characters in it, is an experience I think everybody should have. Johann Liebert is one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. He is less a character and more a psychological construct given flesh. He is a product of philosophical despair. Yet
Oh my god, he's so bright.
He reads as pitiful. He's too composed, too far removed. He is the embodiment of the monster that lies beneath civilization's thin veneer, and he forces everyone, characters and viewers alike, to confront the terrifying possibility that evil might not come with horns, but with a kind smile. And
here comes the sun, whitest man ever. He's so fucking bright, chat. Every time he's in a brightly lit room, he's literally like flashbanging everybody. He needs like to perpetually hold on to an umbrella to keep the shade over him because he's too fucking bright. Bright as in he just flashbangs everybody.
an outstretched hand. Johann is an infinite void of desperate darkness with no light to be seen, unbound chaos devoid of any logic, any meaning, and any direction. Because if nothing matters...
Get rid of sunscreen. Yeah, he needs a tan. He needs to like go to the beach and lay in the sun for a while and just get a tan, bro. Like like darken up a little, damn.
Nothing really needs to exist, and the entirety of
either that or stay in the shadows.
Monster is watching him pushing this philosophical concept to the absolute limits of the human mind, watching him destroying the very concept of meaning for people until they are left with nothing but the infinite void he represents, breaking people with the fear of that reality sinking in, forcing people to feel this bone-crushing despair towards existence itself, until ceasing to exist becomes the only thing in their minds that makes sense.
Man, chat, look how fucking bright he is. Literally pasty white. He's literally paper right now. You could mistake him for a vampire. That's how fucking white he is. Oh my god. God, someone put your sunglasses on, chat.
And it sends chills down my spine because of this power of persuasion. He exploits loneliness, guilt, childhood trauma, and shame. Many of his victims kill others or themselves, not out of obligation, but because Johann leads them to believe it's inevitable. He doesn't blackmail them into doing these horrible things. He just gets them to a place where they choose it for themselves, which in turn proves his point. In that sense, you can consider that Johann's plan is a philosophical virus, spreading existential ruin wherever he goes. Other characters have genuinely scared me. Again, Am from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, Annie Graham in Hereditary, Judge Holden in Blood Meridian, but none have been able to scare me in the very unique way Johann has. None have left me with such indescribable feelings of questioning and yearning for answers about my own existence. Existential dread, existential fear is a feeling that is so incredibly hard to capture, let alone transmit to people. And it is something that truly leaves a mark because it deals with a lot of questions that do not have definitive answers.
Chat, the sun fears this man. The sun literally cannot, what do you call it? The sun's not as bright as this man. Literally, he could blind somebody.
So you are left with nothing but the thought of what he represents and the void we are all susceptible to fall into. And it is for this very reason, for this ultimate ethos of being nothing but the incarnation of a desire to consume people with this void, for this fundamental belief in the emptiness of everything, that Johann Liebert is, in my opinion, the most terrifying character ever written.
And one of the best villains in fiction, chat.
No use.
Go read Monster.
Shoot a person who
Or
doesn't
watch
even
it.
exist.
It was a great video, chat. Most terrifying character ever written by Friendly Space Ninja. Great video.